I've quickly done the upper torso, also with yellow and with black. So you can see that the arms swinging back and forth are now echoed by a yellow stripe and a black stripe. Again, it's a thin material of black, thin material of yellow, and it is layered all the way through. So the upper part of the torso will be done much like the bottom. I'm going to go back to the bottom briefly and talk about these cavities. I need to fill in the negative space of all of the cavities now. So I can take a block like this texture or any texture and decide I want to run it this direction through these legs. So first thing I want to do is carve kind of that shape that's sitting down inside this. Very hard to see. Hard to see in this light. That shape, this cavity in there. And it's sort of triangular. And I'm going to do a very rough job. This is the kind of shape that will now go down in there. I'm going to have to let's see. So this part goes in there. This part goes here. I'm going to have to build parts that also function on the outside. So in essence, I'm going to be putting this block here and this block on the other side and finding a way to glue them all together so it's running this direction through the walk. If I take this off, it helps clear up a piece, and I can start to try to sculpt, is that right? Sculpt this shape. Distort it to sort of fit the leg parts and pieces. Now, this is the hard part where I have to actually kind of guesstimate how it has to fit into there. This piece has to fit into this groove. I'm going to do my best to make an approximation. And a little bit of fudging and force fitting, and it's kind of in place now. So then this has filled up the negative space between the orange red foot that's doing the plant and the blue yellow foot that's lifting right through here. These parts, I want this whole stripe of shape now to continue moving all the way through, and I kind of have to form fit it into here now. So that's going to require a different sort of push and pull. Alright, now I have to fill in these two gaps, which I haven't done yet. I'm going to do that in a moment, but I'm going to first form fit this other side. Okay, that actually is going to go in pretty easily. This is where the foot goes, this is the knee, and then this goes on up. Okay, so now what you can see is a shape going across and a shape going across, and it's all flowing. Oh, I did a boo-boo. This is flowing a different direction than this, so I need to reevaluate how to, actually I have to put it in this direction. So Again, I'm trying to get the flow of the lines to go that way, which requires a whole different set of logic. I'm smashing it around, which will make it kind of ooze when it's cut away visually, and that's probably not the cleanest, idealist way, but it's just part of the sauce or the strangeness of the effect when things are cut apart. If I wanted to spend a lot of time, I could go in and cut each piece to really, really try to fit to the other piece, but it's a fast example, and it's not. I'm not pretending that it's perfect, so I'm just going to enjoy the distortions that it makes. But recognize they will be there, and a lot of that is just what you saw, which is the way my fingers have to push and pull stuff around to take a pattern, which is otherwise fairly consistent, and jam it into the parts and pieces around it, and that's kind of what makes a kind of liquid undulation of the pattern around these other shapes. So what I'm doing here is filling in the shape, so there's a bit of continuity there. I'm not going to worry about it upstairs. All I'm trying to get is a beginning that shows how these pieces get filled in. I'm going to take another pattern, and what I want to do is put several patterns, each going in this direction across this block. I'll go ahead and use this pattern next. It's pretty, I think the one thing I'm trying to do is use a lot of green to conflict with the purple, the red, and everything. This pattern, this particular piece, doesn't really have to go quite into the, it actually runs right with a leg. So there. Now this pattern is running also across. The key would be to, I have to fix this little gap here, and I'm going to shave off a bit of this pattern to improve that piece. Right there. Okay. So I have now two stripes running across and two stripes running across. I have to deal with this gap one more time if I use this texture. Next, you know, it's going to be easier to use this. It's a all-purpose sort of random. Since these are fairly defined textures, I'm going to go with a more random texture. It makes it easier to fill things in because it's not asking. When you have a random texture, all the smushy you do really doesn't matter. You can be a lot less fine with how you fill things in, and therefore they get filled in a little better because you're not trying to keep the pattern as undisturbed if it's a regimented pattern like these other ones are. Don't want to disturb it too much. Let's see. So this is where that's going to go. I'm trying to figure out the negative part that I need to continue to fill in here. Okay. So this piece needs to fit right there. It's a little bit too aggressive, so I'm going to shave it back down. I want to get it to go flush to the already existing sculpture. Much better. Okay. So this leg goes up and underneath here and comes to this leg right here. All right. And lastly, it goes like that. So I can fill in this gap and this side with a bit of this more random texture. I think I'll fill this backside in first. And the ease with which something so non-formal gets in there is kind of nice. So you can see this is going to be a continuous color all the way across. Next I need to find a way of wedging this little valley. Again, trying not to distort the walk, so I'm trying to carve a negative piece that fits to the positive walk. Not the easiest to do, but that's partly why I used on this one a more random look, because it would be, it allows me to hand manipulate the shapes that have to go back in a little less carefully. And lastly, this flattens it out. This is where the texture links up, so it links all the way through. It gets interrupted by the leg inside, but here's a way of continuity happen from visually. It also allows then the leg to lift up here, go down as it's lifting up here, then it goes down and it lifts up here to go down. So there's a kind of walk rhythm to the whole thing. I have a little texture left over here, and I'm going to go ahead and use it to bring this up a little bit. Lastly, then I want to bring a little texture to, I want to start to finish this out. So I'm going to use this checkerboard pattern, sort of flesh orange and tan and white checkerboard pattern. It's a little bit of a dilemma because it's going to have to get slid into this little wedge and come back on the other side. So finding a way of making it feel like it emerged and then re-emerges, again going along with all the rest of this line on this side, and not losing the formality of the texture, because this is a formal texture. It's not a random texture. Didn't do quite enough there, but gives me an idea. This is also at a kind of an angle, so I'm going to go with that. This has to fit in, so I'm going to do that first, then fit this in, and then deal with the excess. This little piece needs a little extra to flatten it, so it rests on the ground. As you can see now, I'm putting in an awful lot of texture in that's embedded now into this walk. This will just be the legs walking. They're all going a certain direction to go with the walk.